Hello guys, welcome. I would like us to look at this question. Examine the processes and features associated with A. Convergent plate margin, B. The upper course of a river. The first part is 12 marks and the second part is 13 marks. Now looking at this question, there is something very important you need to take note of. The question needs you to examine processes and what features that are associated with these processes at these various areas that have been identified. Now let's start with the first area, which is the convergent plate margin. What is a plate? A plate is simply a rigid block of the earth crust, and these plates are never static, but they are always in motion because they lie on the semi-liquid zone of the mantle known as the asthenosphere. Now, what are plate margins? Plate margins are areas where two plates meet. Now, convergent plate margins are actually areas where two plates that are moving towards each other come and meet. And when they meet, you discover that there are two types of convergent plate margin. The first type is where you have both plates that are meeting being oceanic, and the second type is when you have two plates that are meeting being one being oceanic and one being continental. When this happens, these two situations are referred to as subduction zones. Now, in areas where two plates that are moving towards each other are both continental, such margins are referred to as collision plate margins. Now, let's examine what happens at subduction zones. At subduction zones, when you have a continental plate and an oceanic plate moving towards each other, when they meet, the denser plate, which is the oceanic plate, is bound to sink beneath the continental plate, which is lighter. In that sinking process, you discover that the oceanic plate is going to tilt or bend inwardly towards the mantle at an angle of 45 degrees. At this process, you discover that, or at this point, you discover that a V-shaped depression is created at that boundary zone between the two plates. That V-shaped depression is what we call a deep sea trench. That is the first landform. Now, when it gets into the mantle, because of the great heat of the mantle, it is melted, and after it is melted at the Benioff zone, the material cannot remain within the mantle because of the fact that it is buoyant or it contains a lot of gases. So it begins to look for its way to come out. Most often, it flows out through cracks that are found on the continental plate, and when it flows out, it accumulates on the surface of the plate, producing a volcanic cone. And this volcanic cone